They rose to poker stardom, amassing fortunes most players can only dream of, but their meteoric highs came crashing down in ways you won't believe. This is the story of poker's most legendary boom and bust journeys, where skill and risk collided with greed and misfortune. Stick around, because these tales aren't just cautionary, they're unforgettable. Archie Karas. Archie Karas arrived in Las Vegas in 1992 with just $50 and borrowed $10,000. What followed was a meteoric rise that turned that loan into $40 million, cementing his place in gambling legend. Karas wasted no time putting the $10,000 to work. Within hours, he had doubled the loan at the high-stakes pool tables, returning $20,000 to his staker and keeping $10,000 for himself. But Karas wasn't done. Karas hustled a wealthy opponent in a high-stakes pool, walking away with $1,200,000 after months of matches, with stakes climbing to $40,000 per game. Karas took his rivalry with Mr. X to Binion's Horseshoe, winning $3 million at the poker tables and building his bankroll to over $4 million. But Karas wasn't content with a single opponent or a single game. With millions in chips now in his possession, he became a regular at Binion's Horseshoe, turning the poker room into his personal stage. He would sit down at the tables with $5 million in front of him, effectively issuing an open challenge to anyone daring enough to take him on. It wasn't just poker anymore, it was theater, a spectacle that drew players and spectators alike. Word spread quickly in Las Vegas. Archie Karas was playing poker at stakes no one had ever seen before. Some of the greatest players of the era stepped up to the challenge, only to fall victim to the run. First was Stu Ungar, widely regarded as one of the best poker players of all time. Ungar took on Karas in heads-up Raz and 7-card stud. Despite his skill, Ungar walked away down $1.2 million. Next came Chip Reese, considered the best cash game player of the time. Playing at eye-watering 8K, 16K limits, Reese lost more than $2 million to Karas. The list didn't stop there. WSOP main event winners like Doyle Brunson, Johnny Chan, Johnny Moss, and Puggy Pearson all faced Karas in the span of 6 months. By the end of it, Karas had added $17 million to his bankroll, with only Chan and Brunson managing to break even against him. When poker legends stopped showing up, Karas moved to the craps tables at Binion's Horseshoe, betting up to $200,000 per roll. Karas defied the odds again. At one point, he held every $5,000 chip in Binion's vault and had amassed an incredible $40 million. But in 1995, Karas's run of luck began to unravel. His record-breaking streak remains the stuff of legend, but even the greatest highs couldn't escape an inevitable fall. By 1995, Archie Karas' legendary $40 million bankroll had all but vanished in a catastrophic 3-week losing streak. It began with $11 million lost at the craps tables. Next came a heads-up poker session against Chip Reese, where Karas dropped another $2 million. But it was Baccarat that delivered the most crushing blow, $17 million gone in what Karas described as his worst defeat.
You have to understand something. Money means nothing to me.
With $30 million erased from his bankroll, Karas stepped away from gambling, returning to Greece for a brief respite. However, his break didn't last long. When he came back to Nevada, he once again turned to the Baccarat and craps tables, losing all but $1 million of his remaining fortune. Determined to claw back his bankroll, Karas took his last $1 million to Los Angeles and entered a high-stakes poker freeze-out at the Bicycle Club. Facing Johnny Chan and Lyle Berman, Karas emerged victorious, doubling his bankroll to $2 million. Yet within days, the money was gone, lost once again to high-limit Baccarat and craps. Karas never regained the heights of his $40 million streak, but his appetite for high-stakes action never wavered. At times, he managed to rebuild 7-figure bankrolls at casinos like the Horseshoe, the Desert Inn, and the Gold Strike. But the run that made him a legend remained unmatched. A cautionary tale about the extremes of gambling fortune. Johnny Chan. Johnny Chan, famously known as the Orient Express, was one of the most dominant players in poker history. Born in China and raised in Hong Kong before moving to the United States, Chan's rise in the poker world was swift and undeniable. In the late 1980s, Chan reached the pinnacle of poker success by winning back-to-back WSOP main event titles in 1987 and 1988. This rare feat not only made him a legend among his peers, but also etched his name into poker's Hall of Fame. His 1988 WSOP win became the stuff of poker folklore when it was immortalized in the cult classic film Rounders. In the movie, Chan's iconic final hand against Eric Seidel, where Chan trapped Seidel into going all in, was recreated as an example of unparalleled poker mastery. This portrayal elevated Chan's reputation even further, making him a household name beyond the poker community. Chan was admired not just for his skill, but for his unshakable composure at the table. He carried an orange with him to combat the cigarette smoke that once filled casinos, a habit that became a signature of his play. Opponents marveled at his ability to read situations and opponents while remaining cool and calculating. To many, Chan embodied the discipline and focus required to dominate poker during its most competitive era. But success in poker is rarely permanent, and Chan's fortunes would eventually take a hit. After his peak in the 1980s, Chan began diversifying his income by investing in business ventures, including a chain of restaurants and real estate projects. These endeavors were ambitious, but they ultimately didn't yield the results he had hoped for. The unpredictable nature of these investments, paired with mounting expenses, began to strain his financial stability. Chan didn't step away from poker, however. He continued to play in high-stakes cash games. The swings in these games are unforgiving, and even the best players aren't immune. Combined with his business setbacks, these losses steadily eroded the wealth Chan had built during his glory years. By the 2000s, Chan's dominance at the poker tables had waned. The emergence of online poker and a new generation of players made the competition tougher, and Chan struggled to replicate his earlier success. While he occasionally scored significant wins, they were no longer enough to restore the fortune he had once commanded. Despite his financial struggles, Johnny Chan's legacy remains untarnished. His back-to-back WSOP main event victories, iconic Rounders moment, and his unforgettable presence at the table have cemented his status as one of the greatest poker players of all time. Even if the wealth he accumulated has dwindled, Chan's contribution to poker's golden age is undeniable. Men the Master Nguyen built a legacy of dominance in poker, amassing 7 WSOP bracelets and millions in tournament winnings. Born in Vietnam in 1954, Nguyen overcame significant hardships before finding poker success after immigrating to the United States in 1978. His skill, combined with an aggressive and fearless approach, earned him the nickname The Master, as he became one of the most respected players in the game. Nguyen's mentorship program, where he backed and coached other players, further expanded his influence in the poker world. Many of his proteges thrived under his guidance, giving him a percentage of their winnings in return. While this system was lucrative during his peak years, it came with enormous risks, both financial and reputational. Allegations of chip dumping, where he supposedly manipulated tournaments by losing chips to backed players, followed him for years. Although unproven, these rumors tainted his image and added to the challenges he faced later in his career. Despite his early success and millions in earnings, Nguyen's financial foundation was far from stable. His heavy reliance on backing players left him vulnerable to major losses when results didn't go as planned. Running a stable of players is like managing a business. When investments fail to yield returns, the costs can quickly spiral out of control. Combined with the high buy-ins and travel expenses required to stay active in major tournaments, these losses began to take a toll. Nguyen also faced swings in his own poker game. High-stakes tournaments are notoriously volatile, and even the best players can find themselves on the wrong side of variance. While Nguyen continued to cash in tournaments, the winnings were often insufficient to cover his overheads. By the 2010s, Nguyen's once thriving bankroll had diminished significantly. He was frequently seen in smaller buy-in tournaments, a stark contrast to the high-stakes tables where he once commanded respect. Some speculated that financial pressures had pushed him to scale back, while others suggested that his reputation and alleged controversies limited his opportunities for backing deals and invitations to high-stakes games. While his dominance on the felt earned him respect and admiration, the financial toll of his choices eventually caught up to him. Once a towering figure in the poker world, Nguyen's story highlights the fine line between glory and adversity. David Devilfish Ulliott was one of poker's most charismatic figures, rising from a working-class background in Hull, England to international fame. Born in 1954, Ulliott's early life included hustling in pool, betting, and even safecracking, which landed him in prison. There, he honed his card-playing skills, setting the stage for his poker career. In the 1990s, Ulliott's aggressive play style and larger-than-life personality earned him the nickname Devilfish and made him a star of the UK poker scene. His appearances on late-night poker during the poker boom cemented his reputation as an entertainer and a marketable face of the game. His crowning achievement came in 1997, winning a World Series bracelet in pot limit Texas Hold'em and a payout of $180,000. Over his career, Ulliott earned more than $6 million in live tournaments, securing his legacy as one of poker's elite players. Despite his success, Ulliott's financial life was as volatile as his play style. Known for his willingness to gamble, he frequently played in high-stakes cash games and made risky bets outside of poker. His boldness paid off during hot streaks, but often left him struggling during downturns. Ulliott was also known to live extravagantly. While his income from poker was significant, the expenses of maintaining his image and the swings of the high-stakes world left little room for stability. Additionally, Ulliott's poker earnings weren't always enough to offset his gambling losses in other ventures. His fearless approach to betting and his relentless pursuit of action meant that his bankroll was constantly at risk. As he got older and poker became increasingly competitive with the rise of online players, Ulliott found it harder to keep up with the new generation of pros. By the 2010s, Ulliott's financial struggles became more apparent. He admitted to being heavily in debt and revealed that his aggressive approach to life and poker had left him with far less than his peak earnings suggested.
I'll fight him out, fuck him out, think him out, drink him out, sing him, and I'll bling him.
While he passed away in 2015 from cancer, his legacy remains alive in the poker world. Ulliott was more than just a player. He was an entertainer, a provocateur, and a symbol of poker's wild and unpredictable nature. Puggy Pearson. Puggy Pearson was a pivotal figure in poker history. Born in 1929 in Tennessee, he grew up in a working-class family and earned his nickname after a childhood accident left him with a flattened nose. Early on, Pearson developed a talent for gambling, starting with pool and gin rummy before transitioning to poker, where he became a legend. Known for his cigar-chomping persona and country charm, Pearson played a major role in popularizing no-limit Texas Hold'em as a tournament format. In the early 1970s, he convinced Benny Binion to make it the main event of the WSOP, helping turn the series into the premier poker competition it is today. Pearson wasn't just influential, he was also a winner. Over his career, he claimed 4 World Series bracelets, including the 1973 main event. His success in tournaments and cash games cemented his status as one of the most iconic figures of early high-stakes poker. His love for gambling extended far beyond poker. While Pearson's poker accomplishments are undeniable, his financial decisions often left him in precarious positions. Known for his reckless gambling, Pearson frequently risked large sums in prop bets and games where he held little to no edge. Unlike the calculated strategy he displayed at the poker table, his approach to other forms of gambling was impulsive, relying more on luck than skill. In addition to his gambling habits, Pearson lived an extravagant lifestyle, spending lavishly on luxuries and enjoying the perks of his status as a poker legend. However, the high-stakes lifestyle came at a cost. Pearson's wealth steadily eroded as his losses in gambling outside of poker began to mount. By the time of his death in 2006, Pearson's fortune had significantly diminished. Many attributed this to his inability to manage his bankroll effectively and his tendency to bet big without restraint. While he remained a revered figure in poker, his financial struggles underscored the dangers of unchecked gambling, even for the most skilled players. Puggy Pearson's contributions to poker are undeniable. As a trailblazer of tournament poker and a colorful character who embodied the spirit of early high-stakes gambling, he left an indelible mark on the game. Ted Forrest. Ted Forrest isn't just another name in poker. He's a 6-time WSOP bracelet winner and a daredevil with a taste for risk that goes beyond the table. But it's not just his skill that made him famous. It's the way he continually pushed the limits, betting it all, sometimes on himself. Take his infamous weight loss prop bet with Mike Matusow. Forrest wagered he could lose nearly 50 pounds in just a few months, a challenge that most would have laughed off. But Forrest did it, putting his health on the line and winning what was reportedly a $2 million prize. Yet he claimed he never received the full payout, and his health paid a heavy price for the extreme weight loss. Instead of bolstering his bankroll, this victory only brought more financial strain. Forrest's troubles extended beyond prop bets into serious legal issues with casinos. In 2013, he signed a confession acknowledging he owed the Wynn Casino $270,000. Despite an agreement to repay the debt, court records indicate the sum was never fully settled, casting a shadow over his financial standing. The case was eventually closed, but the debt loomed over him, making his financial situation increasingly dire. And that wasn't the end of it. In 2015, the Mirage Casino filed a lawsuit against Forrest, claiming he still owed $40,500 from a $100,000 loan extended in 2013. The court ruled in favor of the casino, adding yet another debt to Forrest's growing list of financial woes. With these high-profile legal battles, his financial situation grew increasingly bleak. Despite his relentless pursuit of big wins, including a 4th place finish in the WSOP 7-Card Stud Championship, where he cashed in $73,000, Forrest's debts continued to pile up. Rumors swirled that even these winnings were quickly swallowed by his outstanding obligations, leaving him caught in a cycle of high-stakes victories and even higher-stakes debt. For a player once revered for his fearless approach, Forrest's story has taken a dark turn, marked by legal battles, unpaid debts, and financial struggles. Jerry Yang. In 2007, Jerry Yang went from a relative unknown to the ultimate poker champion by winning the WSOP main event. He entered the tournament through a $225 satellite and walked away with a staggering $8.25 million payday. Yang took calculated risks throughout the tournament, cementing his victory in a moment of poker history. His intense emotions at the table, praying during hands, and showing deep gratitude after big wins made him a memorable and relatable champion for fans worldwide. After his win, Yang pledged to give back, donating significant portions of his prize to charities like the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the Ronald McDonald House, along with his church. But while his generosity was commendable, it marked the beginning of a series of financial missteps. Yang's decision to donate before securing his own financial stability left him vulnerable to unforeseen obligations. The tax implications of his winnings began to weigh on him, and despite his monumental success, he soon found himself in financial distress. By 2013, the situation had worsened. The IRS seized several of Yang's assets, including his WSOP bracelet, to help settle a tax debt that exceeded $570,000. This seizure shocked the poker community and was a striking symbol of Yang's financial struggles. His prized bracelet and other personal items were put up for auction, a painful moment for a champion who had once stood at the top of the poker world. In interviews, Yang has reflected on his financial struggles, often citing poor advice and personal mismanagement as factors in his downfall. He admitted he hadn't fully grasped the tax responsibilities that came with his winnings and regretted not setting aside funds before making charitable contributions. Without proper guidance, the money quickly disappeared, leaving him facing a mountain of debt. Yang attempted to diversify his income, moving into the restaurant business with establishments like Pocket 8 Sushi and Grill in California. But even these ventures weren't enough to cover his financial obligations. Despite these setbacks, he continued to appear in the poker scene, though the scale of his play was a far cry from his main event triumph. TJ Cloutier. TJ Cloutier's name is etched into the history of poker as one of the most decorated and respected players of his time. Known for his remarkable consistency and skill, Cloutier won 6 WSOP bracelets with over $10 million in live tournament earnings. His achievements spanned several poker disciplines, and he's the only player to win WSOP bracelets in all 3 major forms of Omaha: Limit High, Pot Limit High, and Limit 8 or better High-Low Split. Throughout the late 80s and 90s, Cloutier was a dominant force, placing in the top 5 of the WSOP main event multiple times and becoming a fan favorite with his strong, no-nonsense approach to the game. Cloutier's rise to poker stardom didn't follow the typical path. A former college football player, he pivoted to poker after a series of business failures. While this transition gave him new purpose, Cloutier's journey was a difficult one, marked by ups and downs that mirrored the swings of the game he loved. His success at the tables was often offset by his struggles with money management, and for Cloutier, his biggest challenge wasn't poker, it was gambling itself. Despite earning millions, Cloutier couldn't resist the allure of high-stakes craps. Known to take his winnings straight from the poker tables to the casino floor, he gambled away large amounts in craps games, a habit that slowly eroded his bankroll. Fellow players and fans recall seeing him leave poker tables victorious, only to lose much of his winnings just hours later at the craps tables. For Cloutier, the thrill of the gamble extended beyond poker, but his love for risk eventually took its toll. His financial troubles became became painfully public in 2010 when his 2005 WSOP bracelet was auctioned online for just over $4,000. It was a stark symbol of his financial struggles, showing that even the most successful players can find themselves in difficult circumstances without disciplined money management. The sale of the bracelet shocked the poker world, especially given Cloutier's legacy, and many fans and players were disheartened to see one of poker's legends in such a position. The stories don't end there. Over the years, Cloutier has reportedly sought backing from other players, even for relatively low buy-in tournaments, a surprising revelation for someone of his stature. In interviews, Cloutier has been open about his financial ups and downs, reflecting on the need for balance and admitting that his love for high-stakes gambling ultimately worked against him. But despite these challenges, Cloutier remains a respected figure in the poker community. He has channeled his experience into writing, authoring several poker strategy books that have guided countless players looking to improve their game. His books, often praised for their straightforward advice and practical strategies, show a depth of knowledge that only someone with his background could provide. Cloutier's willingness to share his insights with aspiring players speaks to his dedication to the game, and his contributions continue to influence the next generation of poker players. Jamie Gold. In 2006, Jamie Gold became an overnight sensation in the poker world. He wasn't just a typical poker player grinding away at tables for years. Gold was a Hollywood talent agent who entered the World Series of Poker with a mix of charisma and confidence that made him stand out. And stand out he did. In a single event, Gold took down the biggest WSOP main event in history, walking away with a jaw-dropping $12 million, the largest prize ever awarded in a poker tournament. What made Jamie Gold's victory so captivating was his unconventional style of play. He was brash, talkative, and played mind games that unsettled his opponents. Gold talked his way through hands, convincing players to fold monster hands and giving the audience a poker performance unlike anything they had seen before. But beneath the charm and table talk, Gold was riding the wave of the poker boom, winning at the height of poker's popularity with millions of eyes watching. His win, however, came with a cloud of controversy almost immediately. Not long after his historic victory, Gold was embroiled in a legal battle over his winnings. A friend and business partner, Bruce Crispin Lizer, claimed that Gold had agreed to split the winnings from the main event in exchange for helping him recruit celebrities to play in the tournament. When Gold refused to honor the deal, Lizer sued, freezing half of Gold's $12 million prize while the court sorted out the dispute. Gold's initial rise to fame had all the makings of a Hollywood script, charisma, luck, and a massive payout, but his fall from grace came just as quickly. The legal battle over the money dragged on, and while it was eventually settled out of court, the damage to his reputation was already done. Many questioned whether Gold's win was a fluke. His subsequent poker performances didn't live up to the hype of his 2006 victory. He failed to replicate his success, and over time, Jamie Gold's name became more associated with his legal troubles and the spectacle surrounding his win than his actual poker prowess. In the years following his WSOP triumph, Gold faded from the poker spotlight. He continued to play in tournaments, but never reached the heights he had in 2006. He dabbled in various business ventures, including poker-related projects, but nothing seemed to stick. For many, Jamie Gold became a symbol of poker's unpredictability. One day you're on top of the world, and the next you're embroiled in lawsuits and struggling to maintain your status. Despite the controversies and the questions about his poker skill, Jamie Gold's name will always be etched in history as the winner of the largest prize in WSOP main event history. But like so many before him, he found that in poker, winning big doesn't always mean staying on top. Stu Ungar is often regarded as one of the greatest poker players of all time. His natural talent for the game was unmatched, and his ability to read opponents and make lightning-fast decisions earned him the nickname The Kid. Ungar won the WSOP main event 3 times, a record that still stands. His first victory came in 1980 when he was just 26 years old, and he quickly followed it up with another win in 1981. Ungar's aggressive style and fearless approach to the game made him a legend. At his peak, Ungar was earning millions of dollars and living a life of excess. He was known for his extravagant spending, often carrying large amounts of cash and placing massive bets on everything from poker to sports. However, Ungar's brilliance at the table was overshadowed by his personal demons. He struggled with drug addiction, particularly cocaine, which would eventually lead to his downfall. Ungar's addiction became increasingly severe as his career progressed. Despite his success, he would often disappear for days at a time, engaging in drug drug-fueled binges that left him physically and mentally depleted. His once vibrant personality began to deteriorate, and his ability to perform at the poker table suffered as a result. By the late 1980s, Ungar had squandered most of his fortune on drugs, gambling, and a lavish lifestyle. In 1990, Ungar made a brief comeback, winning the Amarillo Slim's Super Bowl of poker, but his addiction continued to take its toll. His health deteriorated, and his financial situation became increasingly dire. Despite winning the WSOP main event again in 1997, his third victory, Ungar was broke just months later. He had borrowed money from friends to enter the tournament and used his winnings to pay off debts and fuel his addiction. Ungar's tragic end came in 1998 when he was found dead in a cheap motel room in Las Vegas. He had no money to his name, and the once great poker legend had been reduced to living in squalor. His death was a sobering reminder of the destructive power of addiction, even for someone as talented as Stu Ungar.